Hey, Mary Jane. Here we are with Representative Blumenauer in Washington, D.C., sitting down to find out a little bit about what's going on here in the Capitol. Could you tell me a little bit about the genesis of the Cannabis Caucus?
Well, we've had an informal working group from a number of congressional offices and the staff people for the last couple sessions of Congress. But given the fact that we are watching the progress that's taking place and the need to have a forum for people to work together cooperatively and symbolically to show the breadth of support and engagement on Capitol Hill, it seemed to me that it was time to formalize it with the caucus. We've got over 200 of them here for a whole range of things. It's time for a cannabis caucus. We're being very slow and deliberate, just sort of giving people information, inviting them in. We had a great briefing, we called it Marijuana 101, where we were able to deal with facts about marijuana, legislation, challenges, so people could get the basics. And we'll continue doing that going forward.
What was your first reaction when you saw the Jeff Sessions document that became public?
Well, one's disappointed, but one's not surprised. Mr. Sessions has made no secret of his opposition to ending our failed prohibition of marijuana and has some unusual views. But in a sense, this is a struggle we've had from the beginning. Even though President Obama was more forthcoming and actually was very candid that marijuana was no more harmful than lots of things that are readily available, and had put in place some positive policies, we had to continue. We had to have an amendment to prohibit one of the 93 U.S. attorneys and the vast apparatus of the war on drugs of intervening, and we're going to have to do that again this time. The good news is that we have a larger number of members of Congress in both parties who understand the strength of the reform movement, and I'm optimistic that ultimately we will be successful. 200 million Americans have access to medical marijuana. So the politics are moving in our direction, and the polls that are the most persuasive are the ones where they're actually registered by the voters. So there's a disconnect between some of the federal law enforcement war on drug bureaucracy, and there are some hints that the administration is not going to be helpful. But Donald Trump didn't campaign against cannabis, and his few public statements indicate that he thinks the states ought to be able to go ahead with their experiment. We need to make sure that people who are in the industry and advocates increase their efforts. Now is not the time to relax, and the fact that we may run into some choppy waters with this administration ought to encourage people to do more. But I've been doing this for decades, and I have never been more confident that we are going to successfully resolve this issue sooner rather than later, that we will never elect an anti-cannabis president again, and we've got some short-term challenges that if we do our job right, we'll be okay.
Well, I have to say that's a really intelligent and inspiring collection of ideas, and I think that hearing you put them all together in that way definitely gives me confidence in where we're headed. Is there anything further that you would want to say to people who are worried, people who are patients, people who are small business owners who are, reading about this in the news?
It's very important for people to keep the big picture in mind, because the actual political progress has all been in favor of eliminating the failed prohibition on cannabis. It is important that people who are in this space, people who are advocates, people who are patients, providers, business people, that they keep up their engagement, their pressure.
Representative Blumenauer, I very much appreciate your time and all this information. I'm really excited to see what you guys come up with.
Well, we're glad to have the conversation. Look forward to marking progress. Maybe in 6-8 months we might go back and see how it's developed, because I know there will be new challenges and there will be great achievements, and it's important for people to know about both.
Well, I very much hope that we achieve what we're hoping to get out of this.
Great.